Skoda is taking a new approach with its Enyaq SUV lineup in Australia. This fully electric 5-seater now gets a new look and a new SUV body style, but new pricing as well, which puts it on par with some of the Chinese brands. That's right, you could be getting a European built and designed and engineered SUV that drives very differently to some of those other Chinese options. But I'll tell you some good alternatives in this review and much more about the Enyaq lineup. So let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Let's go. Skoda Australia has taken a much more assertive approach to this updated Enyaq range than it did before, essentially lowering the cost of entry by about $20,000. Now, they haven't done that with the same model range. There has been a new addition. It's called the 60 Select, and it gets a smaller battery with less power and torque, but it is still rear-wheel drive, and it still comes with heaps and heaps of standard equipment that you would expect in the highly competitive mid-size 5-seat electric SUV segment. So you're still getting things like LED lighting around the car, 19-inch alloy wheels, and it comes with smart Skoda stuff like proximity keyless entry. There's push button start. If you want to use that, you don't have to. You can just press on the brake and put it into drive and it'll go for you. But there's also an electric tailgate, and on the inside you're getting a nice interior trim finish, a 13-inch touchscreen media system with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, digital radio, a 5-inch digital cluster for the driver as well. Also a heated steering wheel, heated front seats, an 8-speaker sound system, and even the trademark umbrella in the driver's door. Plus, unlike some other EVs, you get a Mode 2 and a Mode 3 cable included. And you are missing out. No matter which version of the Enyaq you choose, you can't get a connected services app. So you can't actually control things about the car from the app, but you can do a lot of that stuff on the screen. If you want to set timers for your charging or set your climate controls for when you're leaving, you can do that on the screen if you set the timers. But if you want a little bit extra, you can get the signature pack on the entry-level grade. It'll cost you an extra $6,000, and it does give you a few extra features you might like, including a better sound system, a 360-degree camera system, a couple of extra airbags, which is a bit weird. I'll explain that later on. But also it gets you a head-up display, memory settings for the driver's seat, and you get sunshades in the back if you option that pack. Now, if you want bigger wheels, you can get them as well on the base grade. It'll cost you $1,000 more. Up from there, it's about $9,000 more to get into the 85 Sportline. Now that is essentially a bigger battery pack, more power, more torque, but a few extra features as well for your $9,000 in addition, including different exterior looks, matrix LED headlights, bespoke interior design elements, and pretty much most of the stuff in that optional package on the base grade. But then if you want even more, there is another optional package that you can add to the 85 Sportline. It's called the Ultimate Package. It costs $5,000 more. It adds a head-up display, surround camera, auto parking, adaptive suspension system, a better sound system, and 21-inch wheels with an illuminated light bar at the front. At the top of the range is the 85 Sportline Coupe model. Now, it is a much more expensive variant, but it does have heaps and heaps of standard equipment. And if you want to, on the 85 models, you can add a sunroof as well. Not just a glass roof, but an actual sunroof with a shade too. So that's great, I reckon. And if you want even more than that, there will be a replacement for the RS model in both coupe and SUV body styles, but it's not launching until sometime in 2026. But hey, what do you think? I reckon that the price changes have been important and they have made this car more competitive. But let's talk about some alternatives that are also pretty competitive to this. Firstly, I reckon have a look at the Zeekr 7X. It does start at a pretty assertive price point, not as low as this, but it does have more range, and there's a mid-range model with plenty of EV driving range. And in fact, it's a beautiful thing to behold on the outside and on the inside. It feels pretty good in terms of the interior design and finishing. And it certainly is an interesting offering. I mean, the biggest concern about Zeekr is, well, can you find a dealership? Will you be able to get it serviced? But I guess that's the big thing if you are going to roll the dice on a new brand. And if you are okay with rolling the dice on a new brand, another one to check out is the Xpeng G6, because I think it's a lovely thing to drive. I think it's well equipped and it has a great starting price of just under $55,000. There's two different versions of it, a standard range and a long range. There's going to be an all-wheel drive one and a facelift coming later on as well. So it might be worth waiting if you are after the latest and greatest. And another choice you might want to think about is the MG IM6. Now it starts at $61,000 drive away for that rear wheel drive base model model, but the mid-spec one is the one I would pick because it adds a fair bit of extra stuff for the money, less than 70 grand drive away, and it is a very compelling option. Now, if you want the all-wheel drive RS rivaling version, then you can get it. It's 81 grand drive away, and it is super fast and pretty bloody amazing. It's got air suspension and four-wheel steering, that one, so it could be maybe more high-tech experience than this, but it is also a different kind of ownership prospect. I'll tell you about the ownership prospects for this car later on in this review. Which would you pick? Any of those? Have you seen in the comments? Rightio people, let's have a look at the new modern solid design language on the front of this SUV. Now this is the lower spec Sportline version, so it doesn't have the optional pack, so it doesn't have the more enticing looking front end, but it still does have the 4-eye matrix LED headlight system. The select grades won't get that, but it is still a nice looking machine. Now the SUV body style has been added as well, and I reckon it looks great. It looks kind of like a Skoda wagon, but a little bit more crossover-ish. And there's some important changes if you are considering this vehicle. That redesign has seen some, well, improvements to the drag coefficient. So it's much more aerodynamic, and the coupe version is even more aerodynamic once again. Now I'll put all the dimensions on your screen so you can see for yourself what you're getting yourself into in terms of the size of this vehicle. It's not the biggest, I have to say. You might be surprised just how small it is and how small it feels as well. And I'll put the ground clearance on your screen too so you can see how off-road capable it isn't. I mean, it's not an all-wheel drive, but it's also got a decent amount of clearance. Just don't go thinking that you're going to go super duper bush bashing in this one. Now let's have a look at the boot. This one is the SUV, as you can see for yourself. And I do think that you are getting a pretty practical space here, people. You'll see there that there is a bag with some charging cables in it because they come as standard. You get a Mode 2 and a Mode 3 cable included at no cost, where some other brands will charge you like almost another $1,000 to get some cables. But this car, the SUV model, as you can see, has a decent sized boot area with some typically Skoda clever elements to it. So you've got some drop-down cargo hooks, you've got remote releases for the seats, more hooks, and on this side, you guessed it, more hooks, and there's also some other clever elements to this cargo area. A 12-volt port there, and underneath the boot floor, sadly, no spare. That might be a big issue for some, but there is a great cargo area underneath with more storage space, and yeah, you can see up there you've got a tire repair kit as well. So it's an adjustable boot floor too, so that's pretty neat. And if you want to fold down those back seats, you've got some pretty handy space there, but also keep in mind you've got a ski port too. So it does make it a very practical, family-friendly SUV from the size perspective, but there is no frunk, so keep that in mind if that matters to you. Right, let's check out the interior in a bit more detail. Okay, let's have a look at the interior of this Enyaq. This is the Sportline SUV. It does vary a bit depending on which one you pick, obviously, but this one misses out on the head-up display. The head-up display is really good, I have to say. It's a shame that you don't get it standard, but you do get this 5-inch display in front of the driver. It's a little bit small, but at least it's there. You've got a digital readout there for your speedo. You can also check what's happening with your efficiency numbers, and you can see what's happening with your safety systems too. There's a bit of configurability there, so it's pretty good. The controls on the steering wheel, they're good as well. They're not piano black, which is good, and they're actual buttons, which is even better. And on this side, you've got a heated steering wheel button. Heated steering wheel and heated front seats are standard across the range, which is great. And you've also got your blinkers and your headlights on that side, your wipers on the other side. You've got paddle shifters to adjust your regen braking if you want to, and I think that it looks and feels pretty good on the steering wheel, and it also looks and feels pretty good with this screen, this 13-inch touchscreen media system. As you can see there, it is a big, bold piece of design and actually pretty easy to get your head around, I have to say. I like the fact that you are able to configure these buttons up here to be what you want them to be, so they're favorite buttons up there. So for instance, if you want to turn off the lane keep, you can have that as a quick button. If you want to have your recirc there, you can, because it's not there otherwise. But you do also have one that you can go into your car settings, you can go into your driving profiles and adjust which drive mode you're in. I don't know why it didn't go in just then, but there you go. And yeah, you've got sport and individual. This one doesn't have the adaptive suspension, so you can't adjust the specifics of the suspension, but you do have a bit of adjustment in each of the different modes, well, the individual mode at least. But then, yeah, you've got other things here, like you've got a camera system that you can hit at the button there, right there. You can set your timers for your charging and so forth up there, and also, you know, what you want the temperature to be inside the car when you're leaving, that sort of thing. So that is great that you can configure all of that. Down below, you can configure this section as well, so you can have a quick button to go back to Apple CarPlay or to go into different sound things like your radio or whatever. You've got digital radio too, and there's another button there to take you to a different settings screen. Laura is the name of the voice control system, and there's a home button there which will take you back to CarPlay in this instance. So some interesting notes here. You do have climate control that stays on screen at the bottom there, which is great. You've got quick buttons to go to your seat heating, which is also excellent, and if you want to jump in and adjust things on the fan screen, you can do that by hitting that button there. Adjust what the fan speed is, where the air is going, and some other things up there. As you can see, you can even adjust the rear from the front if you want to keep those in the back happy. And there's also a quick button down here to get to the climate screen. Yes, climber, not climate. And you've also got demister buttons there, and some other buttons there for your assistance systems and so forth. So all that pretty easy to get your head around. Like the fact you've still got a control panel there. You do also have a volume slider up there as well, which is maybe something that might take a bit of getting used to, but you'll be right. Down here, you've got a wireless phone charger, which is great. A couple of USB-C ports, another little dock there for a phone, which doesn't charge. Got some cup holders, which is great. You can pull that out if you want a bit more space. There's this boxy area here, which is actually a little bit weird. Things can sort of move around in there a little bit. Coin holder, peculiar. And you've also got your stubby little shifter and no park button, as you can see there. So you just have to put it into park, and hey, if you just stop the car and take your foot off the brake, it will just put it into park for you anyway. You've got a center console bin there, as you can see, lined door pockets as well. No big grab handles on the doors, so that will take a little bit of getting used to, but soft padding where you would expect it. These seats are exceptionally comfortable and nicely adjustable, heated as well as standard, as I said. And overhead, you've got some decent size visors, but they don't pull out and extend. You get illuminated vanity mirrors and a grab handle as well. And of course, because it's a Skoda, there is an umbrella in the driver's door as well. You get an auto dimming rear vision mirror. You don't get connected services, so there is no button up here for your SOS call or anything like that, but you do get lights and they're pretty good. No glass roof either. It's a nice finish, but it is dark and it does make the cabin feel a little bit dark, I have to say. There's even more storage down there. If you need lots of storage for your handbag or whatever, then you've got that down there too. Nifty, neat, simply clever. Oh, did I say it again? All right, back seat space. Rightio, this seat is set for my driving position. I am 6 foot tall and I have a good amount of knee room here. Quite a bit of foot room. It's maybe a little bit tight underneath where I like to sit, but I do think that it is spacious enough. And grown-ups, you'll be happy. There's plenty of space back here for tall people to sit comfortably. Now, there's also some good amenities. You've got some overhead lights. These ones have still got plastic on them. And here you've got grab handles with little hooks, and you've got hooks over here as well. And there's plenty of great practicality in the back here. So you've got the multi-pocket set up there. You've got decent sized bottle holders in the doors. They're not lined though, that's maybe an issue. You've got a soft elbow pad there, and this one is an 85 Sportline, so it gets the retractable blinds in the back as standard. Nice material finishes, some nice lighting as well. And I also think that it's great that you're getting things like rear outboard seat heating. The car's not on, so the temperature controls aren't working there. But you also get a climate control system, directional air vents, and a little removable tray there if you don't want to use that and you need more foot space, because, well, it's a flat floor, so that's helpful. And when it comes to the overall space back here for kiddos included, you've got ISOFIX points in the window seats, 3 top tethers. You're not going to have any issues fitting kids in the back. It's a nice broad cabin, and you've got a flip down armrest with some cup holders and a little bit of storage. And as I mentioned, this one is a ski port as well. So you're not missing anything really in the back of this car. It is well considered and nicely accommodating. All right, I'm going to put some numbers on your screen for the different powertrain options in the Enyaq range. So firstly, the Enyaq 60, rear-wheel drive, single motor, electric, and it's got 150 kilowatts, 310 Newton meters of torque. That's not huge, but I reckon it's going to be enough for that lighter model, which gets a smaller battery. I'll tell you about the range and the capacity of the battery in a sec. But also there's this one here, which is the Enyaq 85. It was the only version available in the pre-facelift versions, but it has 210 kilowatts, 545 Newton meters, and again, it's an electric motor at the rear axle and with a single speed transmission. So it's sprightly enough, I would say, this Enyaq 85, but hey, what do you think? Would you wait for the 60 to see what it's like? Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. I'll try and do a full range test with that one later on, but let's talk about range and charging for the Enyaq. Okay, let's go through the numbers, and you will see some graphics popping up on your screen. So if you need to pause, don't worry about it, that's fine. You've got the Enyaq 60, which has a 59 kilowatt hour NMC battery pack. That's the usable capacity, and it offers you an EV driving range of 410 kilometers. So that's pretty good, I would say, for a base grade. But then there's the 85 model. So strangely, it has a 77 kilowatt hour NMC battery pack, but it offers you up to 561 kilometers for the coupe version and 547 for the SUV. Now let's talk about some charging stuff that we need to, because, well, it's important, right? So you do have driver's side or roadside charging location, which might not be ideal for street parkers, but some things that will be ideal for owners is the fact that you get 11 kilowatt AC charging as standard across the entire range, and your AC charging time, well, from 0 to 100% is pretty good, I have to say. For the 60, about 6.5 hours at 11 kilowatts, and for the 85, about 8 hours at 11 kilowatts. But let's talk about DC charging as well. There have been some changes to the 85, but first we'll talk about the 60 grade, because it's actually got better DC charging capability as standard, on paper at least. So it can do 165 kilowatts DC charging, and that means a charge time for it from 10 to 80% at that rate of about 24 minutes, because it's a slightly smaller battery. And then you've got the 85 models, which now get 135 kilowatt DC charging, which is less than before, but Skoda says that the charge curve is better than before, and it means that, well, it'll be better for your battery. Still means about the same charging time from 10 to 80% at max rate of about 28 minutes for the big battery version. So I reckon highly competitive when it comes to the charging specs and considerations and the battery details. It's just whether you can live with the charge port being on that side as opposed to the other side if you're a street parker. That might be a big issue. But let's go for a drive and I'll show you what this new machine is like. For this review, I'm driving at the launch of the new Enyaq. So we're in the Hunter Valley doing a mix of different driving across different surfaces in different scenarios, and maybe not necessarily 100% representative of what I do on the daily with my normal reviews, but still a good mix of stuff. And this car feels like it is never out of its depth. It is a very, very impressive vehicle. I thought that with the previous one, I still think that with this updated one, and this is the 85 version. There are no 60 models on the fleet just yet for me to test. Make sure you subscribe and you'll be notified when I get a chance to do a test of the 60, hopefully with a bit more of a range test as part of that. But I do think that this 85 model is still very sweet. It's lovely to drive, it's rear wheel drive, and the RS models are coming later on with all wheel drive if that's what you need. But this is a sweetheart of a drive experience. It's very easy to get along with. You've got heaps and heaps of grunt, like 210 kilowatts, 545 Newton meters. You don't need more than that in my opinion. But you also get the rear wheel drive dynamism that might actually make it more fun than an all wheel drive in the RS. I found that at the previous launch program that I did for the last version of the Enyaq, and it's still the case here, I reckon. Even though I haven't driven the new RS, I don't need to, because this rear-wheel drive layout is just beautiful. And it's also got, of course, regen braking. There's 4 different modes that you can choose from, including 3 different stepped levels of regenerative braking, but also an auto mode. You can just put it into B and let it do its thing if you want to. And you've got paddle shifters as well to adjust the regen if you wish. It's also refined too. So this 85 SUV model, the Sportline that I'm in right now, has the optional package with the 21-inch wheels with low profile tires, and that also includes, in this instance, the dynamic chassis control, which has 15-stage adjustable dampers. I've set it up in the individual mode to be what I think is a really comfortable ride. It's not too soft, it's pillowy, but still has a level of firmness and agility when you want it to. But the beauty of that adaptive damper system is you can adjust it to what you want. So it's really great. There's other standard drive modes with preset settings for the suspension, the steering, the regen, all that sort of stuff. So it is something that you can play with. If you like the idea of mucking around with drive modes, that will appeal to you, but it's sweet. It's a lovely drive experience. But even in the versions with the 20-inch wheels and the passive suspension, so non-adjustable suspension, there's still a pretty decent ride. A little bit firm feeling at times, but certainly not uncomfortable. And if you are after a plusher ride, the one with the 60 battery comes with 19-inch wheels and higher profile tires, and the passive suspension is standard. And it's probably going to be just perfectly fine if all you do is commute. But if you do want the ultimate driving experience in your Enyaq, it's probably going to be worth spending the extra money to get the adaptive dampers if you can, depending on which grade you pick. No annoying safety bullshit either. So there is a lane keeping system. It's doing a good job, so I've left it on. There's also no annoying bing bongs for speed signs or anything like that, which is great. It means that you can get along with this car easier than some of the others out there, and it feels very finished. So look, from the driving perspective, there's nothing to complain about. Quite frankly, it's quiet, it's comfy, and it's really great. So what about efficiency? We're going to talk about the numbers for all the versions of this car in this section. So just like petrol or diesel, the lower the efficiency number, the better. And you'll see on screen now what the 60 model is said to achieve in terms of efficiency. That's pretty good. And then you've got the 85 models, and there's a couple of those as well. And yeah, you can see that those numbers for a single motor electric SUV are pretty impressive. And over my drive experience today, which, like I said, hasn't necessarily been representative of what I usually do, lots of more flowing roads and country roads, a little bit of stop-start here and there, but not as much as usual, I've seen a pretty good number. You'll see it on your screen, and I think that is, well, probably representative of what you'll see if you do a bit of weekend driving, for instance. And you might even see better when it comes to doing city driving, because the city EV driving range for these vehicles is very, very good. So if you're on the brakes a lot, if you're in traffic a lot, it might be a fantastically efficient option for that kind of driving. The Enyaq achieved the maximum 5-star rating a couple of years ago, and it's still got plenty of standard spec and tech. So you're getting things like autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. There's advanced lane keeping with a traffic jam assist feature, so it can stop, start and steer for you using adaptive cruise. It's got lane keeping, it's got blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. It's got front and rear parking sensors, and a reversing camera is standard. In some grades you can get it with a surround view camera. In others you have to pay to get it as part of the option pack, and it also has, as part of the option pack in some grades, rear side airbags. So that would be a total of 9 airbags. Otherwise you're getting 7, dual front, front side, a front center and curtain coverage. And then there's some that get 9 with the rear side airbag coverage. But also a great thing about this car, no annoying safety technology. So it does have a driver monitoring system, which will stop you from playing with the screen too much if you are distracted by it. That's good, I would say. And no annoying bing bong safety stuff for the speed signs. So I reckon it's pretty livable when it comes to the safety gear. In fact, one of the most livable in its segment. Skoda Australia offers a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty. It is the only European brand to offer that in the Australian market. And when it comes to the battery warranty, you're getting 8 years and 160,000 Ks, and that guarantees 70% life at that stage. And according to Skoda, their batteries are pretty reliable. Now, when it comes to the ownership stuff beyond that, let's talk service intervals. They are every 24 months or 30,000 K, so nice and generous. And when it comes to prepaid service plans, there are a couple available, including an 8-year or a 10-year plan, and it's bloody cheap. Let me tell you, that is really affordable, and you can pass that on to the next owner if you decide that the car's not right for you. Now, speaking of that, there's also a guaranteed future value program available and novated leasing available as well for the Enyaq range. So that could mean that you'll be able to save lots and lots of money compared to other vehicles that you might be considering. And the guaranteed future value thing means that you might save lots of resale as well, or you could just trade it in and get something else at the end of your loan term. But hey, does that sway your decision? I'd love to know what you reckon. I don't really do much on the finance side of things because it's so variable, but hey, I reckon that the ownership promise here is pretty bloody promising. Oh, roadside assist, they'll top that up when you go back for servicing too. It's charming, it's compelling, and it's not Chinese. That might be all you need to know about this, because there are some people who won't buy a Chinese car for whatever reason, but this car is still very, very good in a lot of ways. I can't wait to drive the entry-level Select 60 model. I think it could be a sweet spot in the range, but as it is, I really, really like the Enyaq. Tell me what you reckon about it. Have you say in the comments, is the lack of connected services using an app on your phone to actually control stuff about the car a deal breaker? Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you when I see you.